Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about three flow control statements in Python: the break, continue, and pass. So let's first see what break is. So, break is a statement in Python to exit the loop. So, if you are in the for loop or while loop, as soon as break is executed, you would come out of the for loop or the while loop. Doesn't matter where you are in your iteration. You would break out or come out of your loop. So let's say you have this cart, you have some items here. Now let's loop over these items using for loop and print these items. So we're getting all these items here. Now let's say we were searching for cheese. So as soon as we find cheese, there's no point going through other items in the list. We want to basically terminate our for loop a little early and come out of our for loop. So we'll basically check this condition. If I is equal to cheese, what we want to do? We want to break out of our for loop. So this break, what it will do? It will take the control out of this for loop. And maybe we want to print here as well, inside the that cheese found. Now let's try running this. So it's giving us milk. Why? Because the first item is milk. And this condition is not true. Milk is not equal to cheese, so this is returning false. This block here would not be executed. It will simply print milk, and the control will go back here, and the new value of I is butter. Again, this is false. It is going to print butter. And then the third item is cheese. So this condition now becomes true. It is going to print cheese found, and then it is breaking out of the loop. Break will take the control out of the for loop. So that means we use break statement when we want to terminate or exit the loop in between when certain condition is met. Now let's understand continue next. So we'll take the same code and change the break here to continue. And let's see how the output differs. So let's go ahead and run it. Now what is happening here? When we say continue, what it does is it basically skips. So as soon as this continue is executed, so when I is equal to cheese, this continue here would be executed, is it will skip all the other steps in this particular iteration. So it will skip all these steps. We have print I, it will skip that, and the control will go back to the for loop here. Now, in the next iteration, I will read the value jam. I will hold the value jam. Again, this condition is not true, and jam would be printed here. And then bread is printed. What is continue doing here? The continue statement is skipping the rest of the current iteration. So continue is executed in which iteration? So first, second, third, right? When I was equal to cheese. In the third iteration, this continue was executed. So all the subsequent statements in the current iteration would be skipped, and we would move to the next iteration. So let's take one more example. Let's say we want to only print odd numbers. We have this range of numbers from 1 to 10, and we want to only print odd numbers. So how can we do that using continue? So we'll say for num in range, and let's just go ahead and print all the numbers first. Now, our problem statement is that we want to maybe skip even numbers and only print odd numbers. So we can say we have to first check inside the if statement whether the number is even or odd. How can we check if a number is even or odd? So when we divide a number by 2. And if it's an even number, what is the remainder that we get? The remainder is always equal to 0. For an even number, when divided by 2, the remainder is 0. And if it is a odd number, then the remainder is non-zero number. So how can we get the remainder now? You have this modulus operator. I've talked about this in the operator video. So please check out that if you don't remember. So here we are going to divide this by 2 and this will give us the remainder. If the remainder is 0, it means that the number is even. And what we want to do if the number is even, we don't want to print anything. So I can simply say continue here. So let's just go ahead and run it. So now whenever the number is even, this continue is executed and all the subsequent steps in the current iteration are skipped. The control directly goes back here. Continue, the control goes back to the next iteration. So now this is only printing odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. That means when are we going to use continue? We are going to use continue when we want to ignore certain cases, but keep the loop running. I'll repeat, we are going to use continue when we want to ignore certain cases, where we don't want to do or run a block of code for certain cases, but we don't also want to exit the loop. We want the loop to keep running. That's when we are going to use continue. The third one that we have is the pass. The pass statement is basically like a placeholder. So let's say I'm working on this code and I have this maybe for loop. And let's say I've not yet decided that what I'm going to write here. So I want to revisit it, but I know that a for loop will go in here where I'd need to do some operation. So can I just leave it as it is and just go ahead writing my next line of code? Maybe there I'm just saying a is equal to 10. What happens if I do this? It gives me indentation error. But right now, I am not really clear as to what will go in here, but I still want to have it as a placeholder so that I can come back to this. It helps me work through my logic. So then in that case, you can use pass. It's just to avoid the syntax error. It doesn't really do anything, but it basically helps you avoid getting that syntax or indentation error that we were seeing. Now, later on, once you have an idea as to what you want to write in here, you can delete this part and whatever code you want to put in here, you can type it in here. So yeah, that is pass for all of you. Pass is just a placeholder, doesn't affect execution, but helps keep your code structure and avoid the syntax error. So we have talked about three keywords: the break, which stops the loop or exits the loop; continue, which skips the current iteration; pass does nothing, just a placeholder. So yeah, that's about break, continue, and pass. If you have any questions on these three keywords, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.